All right. Good afternoon, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being with us today. We're really excited for you to join us. Today, we're going to be talking about implementing custom roles with Eduphoria. So we're going to be delving into custom roles and how it really can be customized and structured to really maximize your work in Eduphoria. So just a few little housekeeping things. First of all, hello, welcome. My name is Dr. Allison Ross. And I am on the training and implementation team. And you're in for such a treat today. We have Mr. Armando Sierra, our professional services operations manager, and Miss Paige Parker, our senior specialist training and implementation. So we're all going to be talking to you about custom roles today. And just a few housekeeping things. First off, this is being recorded. 24 hours after this broadcast, you will receive a link that has a copy of the slides as well as a recording of this. But for any of this other additional content, or if you have, if you're like, wait, what did they say? This is also going to be hanging out on our YouTube channel. So please check that out. Also, if you have questions, we would love to get you some answers. Because of the nature of this particular topic for custom roles, shocker, custom roles is super customizable. And so that's going to be something that is a lot of the questions you may find yourself pondering. They're probably directly related to your district and your district's needs. Please use the Q&A for that. We may be able to answer some of them. We may not be able to answer like specific ones. So for that, we possibly would direct you to contact support so we can take that time to zero in on what your needs are for your custom roles and give you that guidance. So we definitely want to get you all the information today. We just may not be able to do all of our customized consults during the actual webinar today, but please reach out using Q&A. I am going to ask you to, let's make sure our chat's working today. I'm curious to know, it's fall, y'all. So I'm curious to know how many football games you have watched or participated in or played between now and the beginning of September. But give me a rough estimate of how many games you have watched. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I have watched 10 because I'm an LSU Tiger. If you know anything about me, that's the first thing you should know. And so I've watched all of my season games and then I've been watching SEC games as well. And if football is not your thing, that's totally okay too. So, okay. Oh, we've got some football fans in the chat. I'm loving this, y'all. Ooh, great. Anybody also, what is your favorite snack for football? Because for me, it's like it's getting crisp here. I'm in Austin, so I'm about to start making gumbo. That's my football snack. Ooh, yes, wings and queso. I am right there with you. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm getting hungry again. I just finished lunch. Wow. Well, this is great feedback. Thank y'all so much. And I feel so much kinship here, knowing that I've got some football fans. And yes, Armando, you do need to catch up. All right, y'all, let's talk about what we're talking about today. We're going to give y'all an overview of custom roles, this really dynamic piece that is in our Eduphoria suite. And then we're also going to help you determine your needs surrounding custom roles. What kind of custom roles would you need? Because like I said, it's super customizable. We're going to also walk you through onboarding that and what that would look like, as well as give you any next steps if you decide, you know what, custom roles is for me. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Armando. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ross. Let's begin discussing custom roles. So we'll go ahead and get started with this right here. What are your district's needs? At its most basic form, custom roles allows you to create job-based roles with a combination of rights that meet specific needs for your district. The custom roles feature is an optional way to manage rights. You can still use built-in roles that can be found in the Roles tab of each user's profile. In addition, you can use a combination of both built-in and custom roles to manage users' rights. The management of custom roles can only be managed by a user that has the role of system manager. This feature lives in management but controls roles and rights for all applications. On some of our slides of the slide deck, we will have linked online help guides, and you'll notice that on the bottom left-hand side, it'll either be hyperlinked or there'll be a little question mark on there that you all can select from. Custom roles is customized bundling that relies on knowledge of existing rights. It is the management of district level custom roles. It is the management of campus level custom roles that allow for more customization of needed access. This is what it is, right? And what it's not is the addition of new rights. And it is not syncing with your local employee information system, or EIS. It is not required. I just want to make sure that that is very clear. This is an added feature and is completely optional. It is not a required feature to use right now unless you make the decision to do so. Paige, I'm going to send it over to Paige now.
All right, so this is an image from our online help guide. We have a spreadsheet out there that outlines all of the roles and rights that are currently built into our system. So you can go in to the article that's linked in that bottom left corner called Setting User Roles and Rights. And in the first paragraph of that article, you'll find a link to this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has a tab at the bottom for each one of our applications. We're looking at the Strive tab right now. And you can see across the top all of our built-in roles that you see when you go to the Roles and Rights tab in Management Now. And you'll see on the left all of the rights outlined and what they're tied to in our built-in roles. So you can use this spreadsheet to kind of evaluate what you are getting right now with the roles that you have assigned that are part of our built-in roles, and also what the rights are that you could reassign in different configurations if you choose to do that with your district. So that's an option that you have, but this is a resource that will let you see what rights are out there, how they're configured now, and what you could do differently if you choose to. All right. We are going to be rolling out this feature to all districts in the very near future. But even after it's rolled out, your district will need to go in and enable it. So just because we put it out there and make it live doesn't mean you have to use it, as Armando said, or even that you might decide to at this point. But when you're ready, someone, again, with that system administrator role will go into management. They'll go to the security tab. And on that security tab, you will see the enable custom roles. You probably don't see that now. If you're going in to look right now, it's not there because this feature, again, is going to roll out to everyone in the near future. A few of you may already have it if you requested that because it's been behind a feature flag for a little while now. But as soon as you get the word that it's been rolled out for everyone, when you go to the security tab, you'll see that box at the bottom that says enable custom roles, and you'll get to choose between using built-in roles only, which is what we have right now. If that's what you've been doing, that's what's going to be selected. You could also choose to use custom roles only, although that's not recommended unless you have all of your roles set up and ready to go. Or you could do the bottom option, which is the most recommended, which is to use a combination of built-in and custom roles, especially as you're first rolling this out, because you may not be ready to create a custom role for every user, but you want to use some of the built-in roles that we have, but it may be that you need to create some additional roles and you're going to use custom roles for that. So you can have a combination where some of your users keep the roles that they have now, while other users get assigned to a new role that you create and manage in the system. All right. Once you have enabled the custom roles on the organization tab, you'll see it over there on the left-hand side. It's called Manage Custom Roles. It's down sort of near the bottom in that left panel when you're on the organization tab. And then when you click on it, you'll see some roles that we have already put out there. So we've given you 6 sample roles. So just to give you some ideas about the kinds of things that you could do, we've always had a principal role, although it's called school department appraiser, and we always had an assistant principal role, but it's called school department limited appraiser because it can be for department heads or principals. In this example, we've built those out separately. We've got principal, assistant principal, and department chair, which might kind of use some of those rights that were in the previous built-in roles, but they can be a little bit more specific and you can have some other levels. We've also added an instructional coach role, which doesn't exist in our built-in roles. And that's something that you might want to take a look at and decide if it would help people in your district. You can open up any of these roles that are built into the system, these sample roles, and you can edit them. If there's something additional that you would like to add to that role, or if there's something you don't want that role to be able to do, you can make changes to it in your system. We just gave you these to get started, to use as examples and to edit as needed. And then if there are other roles here that we haven't thought of yet, but you want to have for your district, then you can go in and create a new custom role. So down at the bottom left-hand pane, just like where it always is in our system, bottom left is where you're going to start something new. You'll see a button that says create a new custom role. When you click on that, you'll see this window where I'm going to give it a name. I can write a description if I want to give some additional information. Sometimes that's helpful if you're building it and you may not be the one for years and years, but if you put a little description of what your thinking was behind that role, it might help the next person who takes over this task. You also have the option there to limit it to the user schools or to select it as a district level role. So some roles will be district level. Department chair might be a district level role. It depends on who all you're using it for. But some will be limited to their campus, like a principal or assistant principal. Just a note, it says limit to user schools, plural. So if they have more than one school in their profile, it will assign all of these rights to all of those campuses. So you need to think about that when you're planning your roles to make sure that you only have people accessing the things that they need to access in the places where they need to be able to see that. Once you're done with that, you'll click the create button, which was at the top of that previous screen, and then you'll see the exact rights that you can add to that role. So the example that we're looking at here is our built-in assistant principal, our custom sample assistant principal role, and all of the rights that are associated with it. And you can see there are some aware rights, there are some forethought rights, there are some strive rights for this particular custom role. You may have other custom roles that don't have rights in all of the applications, but all of the applications show up for you to build just that one. So you don't have to build an aware custom role and a strive custom role. It's going to be one role for that job description that will have all of the rights that you need those people to have.
All right, Paige. So thank you so much for that. So looking at this slide here, keep the following in mind when beginning to map out your implementation of custom roles. When using built-in roles, if you were to apply the principal role to a user for aware, that role also includes roster rights. Therefore, if you create a custom role that includes aware rights for either campus level or district level access, you will also need to select the roster rights as well. To answer the question on why there are separate roster rights, the aware rights are task-driven rights for users, and the selection of roster rights determines which students the user will have access to see their profile and or to complete their task such as a campus level or district level. As you determine what tasks are needed for a custom role, keep in mind whether or not users need that right. One example is a principal going to create local assessment tests? If not, they may not need that right selected for a smaller district, that is something that can be selected. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind. If you are going to use aware rights, you're going to want to also ensure that you all add the roster rights to them as well. And again, look at the template options that we have given you for custom roles so that you can get an understanding of which rights might be applicable to the custom role that you're creating.
Once you've made those decisions and you're ready to get started with these roles, you have to assign them to the users. And there are a couple of ways that you can do that. The first option is the way you've managed roles in the past by going to that specific user, clicking on the roles tab, but you'll notice now because custom roles is turned on, I don't see that list of roles that I used to see on this tab. I see some other options. I would choose either to use built-in roles only for this user, and then I would go back and select those roles that you're used to seeing in there. Or I would say I want to use a custom role for this user. Once I say I want to use custom roles, then I'll see that drop-down menu that's there below. Right now it's set to instructional coach, but any of the roles that I have created in my system will be there in that drop-down. I'll choose the one that applies to this user and then save. You'll notice a couple of things. The system administrator checkbox is there. It is separate from the custom role. That's something that you would have to assign separately. It would not be part of any of the custom roles that you build, but you would assign it here. We do recommend this be a small number of people in your district that are going to have the ability to manage the system, because there are a lot of district settings that are controlled by that particular role. So want to be careful about the numbers there. One thing I wanted to point out is, let's say I decided to switch Milo over to a custom role and make him an instructional coach, and then something changes and I want to go back to the previous system. If I switch back to use built-in roles only, it will remember the role that was assigned to Milo before I put him in a custom role, and those settings will still be there. So you don't have to remember what everybody had. When I click back on built-in roles, it'll go back to what was set for him previously. The other way that you can manage those roles is by using the importer. So on the manage application, when I click on manage users, down in the bottom part of that left panel, I'll see a button that says import users, and it will take me to this screen. This screen shows all the fields that can be imported with our importer, but the one that has not been showing up for you until you get this feature is the one that's highlighted there that says that's where you would put their custom role. So this is a place where you could build a spreadsheet. You can pull that spreadsheet from your employee information system, but as Armando said earlier, this does not sync with your employee information system. I would just get that data out in a spreadsheet and use it to build my import, to have all these fields in there. When you do the import, you are required to have all of these headers in your spreadsheet. You don't have to have data in every column, but you do have to have all of the headers. The ones that are required are first name, last name, email address, and school. And then in this case, if we're managing custom roles, I would want to have their custom role in there also. You may be able to pull from your employee information system a job description, and then you could go in and do a find and replace in your spreadsheet to turn all of whatever your employee information system calls the principal role into what you called the principal custom role, so that the custom role name will be what's in that field. That sometimes is a faster way to figure out who gets what roles. You also have the ability to put in additional information, like the 3 different employee IDs. You can have that information added in with this same spreadsheet. That information can be used a variety of different ways, and especially if you are a TIA district, those IDs are required in TIA reporting. So you might want to do, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and when you do your importer, go ahead and put those ID numbers in as well. There is a template, and there's a link to it at the bottom of this screen, that you can get a spreadsheet that has all of these field headers in there. Sometimes you can just provide that template to your employee information system person, and they can look at it and figure out how to pull that report out of your system. And then there's also a link at the bottom of this slide that you'll get later on that tells you, it goes to the article in our online help guide that tells you how to run this and gives you some more information about it. The last thing that I wanted to point out is that we do have a custom roles report. So some of you have probably run the role report or the right report for your individual applications in the past to try to manage and see who can do what. The same is true for custom roles, but the custom role report, again, is not application specific, because you build the roles with rights in all applications. So when you go in and run that print custom role report, you'll get a spreadsheet and you can see it's going to give me all the usernames, first name, last name. I'm going to see what role they have assigned to them and also what schools those roles apply to. So if someone has multiple schools, like my last user there, Bubba Smith, is assigned to 2 different schools, he has that same assistant principal custom role at both of those campuses.
All right, thank you, Paige. If you choose to use custom roles, we recommend the following. Review your district needs and create a plan before adding roles. Also, review the sample custom roles that Eduphoria has provided you with. Refer to the Enabling Custom Roles article in the online help guide. We really want to make sure this next one is as clear as possible. If you assign aware rights and users need access to student data and the custom role will need to include those roster rights. So just don't forget, you have to include those roster rights. The import user tool will not duplicate accounts. It will only append new information to the user account. And last but not least, if you have any issues or questions, contact support@eduphoria.net, or you can email training@eduphoria.net and provide us with as much information as possible so we can provide you with the best support possible as well. Allison, take it away.
All right, thank y'all. So we've talked about custom roles. That's custom roles. And so if you have questions about bringing this to your district, please email sales@eduphoria.net. Like we said, this is something that is still, we go through support to do. And so you'll need to reach out and have your account manager help you out with that. As we are kind of wrapping up our webinar for today, we invite you to ask questions. If there are any remaining questions, please drop those into the Q&A. But if things bubble up after we're done here today, please reach out, either support or training@eduphoria.net. Either way, we'll get in touch with us. But we'd love to stay connected and continue the conversation. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. And we are so excited to connect with you guys. If you have ongoing questions, need anything, you know how to reach us. So y'all have a wonderful Wednesday and we'll talk to y'all soon.